There's no pretending about it. Nobody should. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer tenure system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
You're most welcome to UBC Ground Zero. Ampaire Amon Buteega is my name, and we are on 5 radio stations that cover this program. UBC Butebo in eastern Uganda, there we are live and clear. In case you are in Mbale, we are on 96.9 FM, Soroti 98.4 FM. We are on UBC Radio in Kampala, that is on 98.0 FM. In case you are in Arua, we are 97.4, Lira 99.4 FM. We are also live and clear on Western Nile Radio, there in the heart of Arua City. That covers Teso sub-region, Lango sub-region, Acholi sub-region, Western Island, Karamoja sub-regions on 98.0 FM. We are also live and clear on Magic 100 FM in Kampala. For Western Uganda and southern parts of this country, you can get us on Voice of Butebo. It is a very important day that we have had, and I want to believe that we are really enjoying from different places that we are in. And now today we gather to discuss a very vital and timely topic that touches on the core of democracy. We look at the equality, we look at the sustainable development, we talk about the affirmative action, we look at the women in leadership. We're going to be looking so very much into the gains, the gaps, and the road ahead. We are talking about 30 years and plus when the affirmative action was established in this country, and despite the significant progress over the years, still women somehow, somewhere remained and represented, especially in local leadership. We look at some positions across Uganda, but also not just Uganda, we also talk about the world. Affirmative action policies have been so much instrumental, especially in Uganda, in trying to address the historical and systematic barriers, but also giving women more opportunities to participate in the political spaces, in economics, and also social spheres. We look at our institutions, we look at local government, we shall look at the top leadership of this country, and we are going to be really assessing how this has been a progress, what do we celebrate as gains, what are the gaps that we need to address, and what lies really ahead. I do have a big privilege and honor to have a very special team of guests in the studios of UBC who are going to be educating, informing, and also inspiring us tonight. We also value the your perspectives and views and concerns, you can always participate in our programs on 0776 511 426, 0776 511 426 later in the program. And also we are streaming live. You just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of the discussion. In the studios, a privilege to have Christine Wiringiro, is the project manager coming from Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, or you call it ACU. You're most welcome, Christine.
Thank you very much, Amon, and good morning to our listeners out there. I'm glad to be here to discuss quite an important topic today. Thank you.
Interesting. You're most welcome again, Christine. You're part of the family, and also the usual suspect, Inspirer, and also part of Ground Zero family, great family there. Chirinju Majezi is the communications officer coming from Government Citizen Interaction Center. You're most welcome to this edition, sir.
Mr. Amon, for inviting me again. Good morning, our listeners on UBC. I'm happy to be here. The topic is interesting, and is tune in and call and contribute toward this topic because it concerns you most. Thank you.
Interesting. There indeed. What did you celebrate ever since the affirmative action was established in this country? Do you think you have been elevated? Do you think you have been thought of? Do you think you have really enjoyed this country we call home? What needs to be done to improve this kind of steam? And I remember I don't know whether it was part of the affirmative action where females were added. Is it 1.5 points at the HSC or senior 6, and also so very many programs, but I may not be so very much into this now that I am a male, and talking so much about it, they will say, you have started. I have a woman representative in the studios. Christine, looking at the affirmative action 30 years that we are celebrating as women in this country, if you can touch and zoom in, how far have we gone? What is it about? And for those who have had affirmative action for the very first time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amon. And just to encourage you that this is it both concerns the males as much as it concerns the females, because we need everyone's support to be able to realize the gains. So with affirmative action, I will begin with the gains. I want to applaud, of course, our government for putting in so much effort to make sure that we see women rise up to the top and are supported to exploit their potential to the fullest. First and foremost, we see it dating back to the Constitution. The Constitution provides for affirmative action in favor of a number of marginalized groups, and one of these is the females. You have those that are marginalized on the basis of their age, the elderly. You have the PWDs, and this is Article 32 that actually does provide for this, which is okay, because it aims to redress the imbalances that exist against such groups. And so with this constitutional provision comes in the creation of the Equal Opportunities Commission to make sure that this is realized. We have fairness in perhaps access to jobs for some of these groups. And then, Amon, you talked about the 1.5 extra points that are given to women for undergraduate studies in these universities. And this we have seen increase the number of females that are graduating from the different universities. But when we go to the political sphere, we also see specific seats that have been reserved specially for these women. And this is both under the Constitution, but also the Local Government Act also provides for this. So we see women in the Local Government Council having about a third of the seats, but also at Parliament level, at the national level, we see women, each district. We now have, I think, 146 districts. So at least you're sure there are at least 146 seats that are reserved for women for each of the districts. But we also see them reserve seats for women, specifically for the youth representative to parliament, PWDs, workers, the elderly, and the UPDF. And this has been quite appreciated. But even beyond this, we see quite a number of efforts in the policies and actions of government. For example, during the budgeting processes, we know there's a requirement that we have in the PFM for the certificate of gender implication. So as each institution is budgeting, we need to see how they are planning for women in there. But even for procurement, there's special provisions that are set aside to support women. And so I want personally to applaud and recognize the great effort that government has over time put in place to make sure that women are supported to rise up. Again, even the president himself has been intentional in selecting women to places of leadership. You have his cabinet, you have quite a number, right from the vice president, the prime minister, and many others. So I think as a country, we've come a long way in supporting women to rise up and take positions of authority and exploit their potential.
Thank you so much. Really, women are appreciating the progress and also what government has done for them. And Christine is there correcting me that affirmative action is not only for women, men are also part of this. And I am glad that I have a gentleman in the studios who can defend or disagree, debate this statement, and also representing government and communication. From your point of view, how is the affirmative action, especially for in this country, from the time it was established until today?
Thank you very much. I think affirmative action has its history in our society, the way it's structured. It's male-dominated. So growing up in our grandparents in the 40s and 30s, when the British came and introduced education, many parents preferred to send the boys first. Or not even first, only probably. But except with a few families which had become, especially Christian, those charismatic families like the Bianymas and a few others. There's one who would think that, okay, we are sending everybody. But many other families preferred to send boys. So the president, having grown up in that era where he could see the imbalance, he decided, and also having been in the bush with ladies performing very well, when he came in, he decided, no, we have got to find a way of pulling most of these women from behind so that they catch up with the rest of the men.
And also being part of the Bianyima family.
Exactly, he was also me.
Maybe you got the inspiration from
Mr. Bianyima himself, and said that, okay, this lady, the daughter was educated and she's doing well. So what about, so when they went to bush, he saw the women in action and said that, no, we have got to have everybody on board. So when he came in, it was intentional. Like the 1.5 was intentional, and it has produced it has performed well. Because there are many now, we have so many. You go to hospital and the first 4 doctors you see are ladies. So that is a very good thing. So the affirmative action has worked. Like Madam Christine said, politically, before you start counting the gender in parliament, you first remove 146 women. You are sure those ones are there before you start separating them by gender. Then you also go into other women who have been winning these other open constituencies. So you end up with a good number of women in parliament using affirmative action. However, on that small part, the affirmative action politically, Mageza, as a person, haven't liked it so much the way we have handled it. For example, I have even written about this before and used the Kamuli district. It was, for me, the seat was intended to empower women politically. But when you have one woman in the same affirmative seat for 30 years, it ends up disorganizing the intent, the good intention of the seat. So, to me, I think in the next parliament they should limit the old women seats, district seats, to one term only, or two at least, at worst two, such that you have more women empowered. Because after 2 terms, a lady has gained enough experience and probably enough financial muscle power to compete into the regular constituencies. I mean, I come from Rukunjiri. We had the lady for 15 years. That is 3 terms. And she was forwarding all the men. Sometimes even campaigning less because people just loved Paula for some reason. That is Rubabo County. She did not need to go to the district. She just goes to Rubabo County and wins all the men from wherever. So, to me, that is the only challenge I have with the affirmative seat politically. But otherwise, the resulting education of the women has also empowered Uganda's, civil service. We have so many ladies leading several government institutions, KCCA, IGG. In fact, IGG 1, 2, 3 are ladies. The Inspector General, the deputy, they are ladies, and it's doing well. We have enough lady judges. So the affirmative action has worked. In the military, they were recruiting, ladies are encouraged, and you have seen the other day the deputy commander, Special Forces Command, was a lady, Brigadier Binababo. So we have the Tukahirwa, the one of Marines. She has been mobilizing these fishermen and fisher ladies to fish properly and not overexploit the lake. This is a lady. You get it. We have sent even Bianyima herself now. She represents us at international level, heading USAID at some I think UNAIDS right now. She was Oxfam initially, and we have other ambassadors who are ladies, and all these they are qualified because when they introduced affirmative action, many of them took advantage and went to school. So, if you have been looking at the performance, especially at P7 and I think Senior 4, I think women the guards have been defeating boys in many of these results that come out annually. So the society which has educated women is a strong society. That's why one of the strongest communities on earth is Scandinavian countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Why? Because the women there are very educated. They have had several prime ministers there. So you can see when you have quality women, you have a quality country.
Based on what you have said and what you see and how empowered women are,
yes.
Men, do you feel threatened that your positions are perhaps checked this time? Because in every position, in every institution, they are sweeping. Where does this leave you?
We are not threatened. They are adding value to us. Every time you see a project, it is girl child. You never see boy child. So So legally, maybe Madam Chris can explain this. Maybe she has better legal background than myself. I was arguing with some case I saw that left me confused. These were two teenagers, a boy and a girl, who committed the crime of young sex, and the boy was charged with defilement. I was confused. I was like, but both of them are below age, so how is this working out? Maybe they should be charged for defiling each other rather than so I didn't understand the legal part of it. So we are not threatened, but those small areas where you are disadvantaged because you are a man, again, that's discrimination, which we are running off from the other lady's side. So I think we should just balance each other out and compete equally. But you remember, our society is still, that old. We are getting educated, but we are still that old society. However, now modern parents, they share property with their every child, girl or boy, because now they also realize that if the girl the marriage doesn't work out, she can come back home and look after herself because she has learned there. So I see that changing. I mean, I come from a family where my grandfather, despite not being educated, he shared land. He gave land to boys and girls. He may have given girls less because most of them were out, but he said no, let them at least have an acre each one. When they are, in case she wants to come back home, she doesn't have to come asking the brothers, give me some small piece. No, I have my land here. So whatever was their choice, and for him, he had done his job. So to answer your question, no, it's not a threat at all. It's a compliment. It's complementary. We develop together. Even despite all this, men are still dominating anyway. So it's not a threat. We still add more strength on their side, such that they come up. You never know what your sister can do for you when you are in a very bad shape. So if she's doing well, you see her as that fallback in case things don't work out. So to me, no, we are okay.
Interesting. I pick it from there, Christine. Women are dominating, girls are dominating. With this kind of dominance, you seem to be empowered and over-empowered. Do you still qualify? Do you still need the affirmative action? Boys every day, do they still need the 1.5 points? Do they need still positions at the districts, even when they can stand against the men and they are challenging them?
Yeah, thank you, Amon. And just to reiterate what Shirin said, I think men don't need to be threatened yet, because when you look at the numbers, the figures,
over 30 years and you're talking about yet.
Yes, because I'm looking at the figures and the statistics, and while we have some wins, really, these when you look at the bigger picture, they are just quite few compared to the bigger picture, and we are going to get to that. So again, I want to agree with Magezi that some of these actions in favor of affirmative action have actually, should I say, put women and girls in such a comfortable position, and we defeat the main purpose for affirmative action. So this should ideally be like a stepping stone for women to come up and then, fly. But we see women have now, when they step on that stone, they become comfortable, and you want to be in that space, and instead you're competing against yourselves as women, and you do not go out there to compete against men. So I see that as such a big disadvantage, and why I'm saying the men don't have to be worried yet is just a few figures. We have about 529 MPs in our parliament currently, and of those you have 188 female MPs. But this 188, you have 146 that have been in parliament or have come to parliament on the women ticket, you know, and that leaves 14 women that have tussled it out with the men and beaten the men. So 14 women out of the total of 529. If we were to remove that directly elected seat for women, I think we would still have a long way to go. And so just the example he gave, if you have been able to sit on this seat for just a few years, maybe 1 term, 2 terms, why do you want to stay there? Can you, rise up and come? Because the lady is quite popular. I don't see why she would need to come on a women district woman seat again. And so I think we might need to rethink some of these affirmative actions, because they seem to now be taking us back. But again, now in terms of the gaps, quite a number. And I do appreciate that while we have done all this, we seem to focus on the numbers, the quantity, as opposed to the quality of the women that we are pushing up there or supporting. And again, it's perhaps the influence of external partners, donors, and etc., as opposed to our current context. We have a society that is predominantly male, it is patriarchal, and we need to penetrate and understand this society for us to be able to generate solutions that will help us come out. But if we come, and because currently, if you have, for example, to organize maybe a meeting, even at government level, it is important. You're told that you must ensure that it is representative in terms of sex. We need women. We need to see how many women were reached, that gender aspect. Even under the SDGs, we want to see women, how are they coming out? So because of that pressure, I think, we now look at numbers and we do not care about the quality. You look at, so who do we bring? Since we need to have equal representation, 50-50, let's just pick 50 women, 50 men. You sit on the table.
Conditions.
Exactly, you sit on the table, and then you'll find perhaps it is the men in the room only that have been able to, debate or generate the discussions and contribute and pass the policies. And then there you have it. You say we had equal representation. This outcome is equally representative, but it has not. You do not have that female voice, the female input, and so again, this is clearly seen in our representation again of women at all levels in decision-making positions and processes. I will tell you, because I looked at the EC, the Electoral Commission report for the 2021 elections, and I was a bit surprised, taken aback, because they noted, we all know there was only one candidate vying for the president, as opposed to the 10 that were men. For parliament, just those who went for nominations, we had only 6.6% for direct constituency, not the women specific seats. Then at the district local level, for the district or city chairpersons and then the councillors, the candidates that were nominated that were female were only 2.3%. And so you see, this also translates to the fact that the officials or the influential figures or persons that are holding these positions go around our districts, all our districts. How many district chairpersons will you find that are women? Councillors, some, just a few, but increasingly it is hard, because even us, as we do our work out there and we engage the local governments, the districts, you will want to have that representation of the women. but again, you want the key decision makers. So you cannot have those. You'll have a meeting of maybe like 50, like 10, 20, and you'll find one woman or two women. And, you just cannot, change this. You can't change the fact. If you want the decision makers, most of them are men. And so even when we have this affirmative action, we are celebrating women in politics. You have your vice president, you have a prime minister, but how many of these, top political leaders that are women, how many of them are actually key decision makers? How many can make a decision, can influence the policy, and it stands? So we are just celebrating the numbers, and which is okay. But I think beyond the numbers, we need to now move on and see what is the quality. Can we have these people actually make and influence decisions? And some of the gaps, again, like we are saying, we see that we have not focused on the foundation for these women. How can we support, even with this affirmative action that we have put in place, how can we take advantage of this and ensure that the girl child who will later grow up into the woman that we need to see is not disadvantaged at an early stage? Because for this affirmative action to translate to the gains that we are, focusing on, not just to hand someone something, but to see that they are able to get to a position or a place where they can then take on from there and be independent. There are quite a number of things that we need to do at the foundational level. For example, as these children are growing up, first of all, in their education, how have we supported the girl child? The Auditor General's report this year, when it came out this year, I noted that the Auditor General said about 64% of the learners, and this is both in public and private school, that are girls, 64% said they did not go back to school because they were in their menstrual periods. And just because of that, and they did not have support, both at school and even at home, they were not supported enough. You didn't have facilities like good sanitation facilities, water, support from the senior women or senior men teachers, provision of just the basic sanitary towels. And so just because of that, you have such a child drop out, and this is alarming. And you expect this person to, to ably compete with the boy child at a later stage. So there are some of these things or factors that disadvantage the woman, the girl child, even before they get to that point of Magezi had, of course, already alluded to some of these things, and he talked about how parents in our society are now considering girls and giving them shares of their property. And he mentioned that, but the girls got some bit, not the full, because they had already gone away. So the nature of our society, and again, I think you will remember when I think it was the late Nsibambi, when he passed and he made his daughter an heir. There was a lot of talk, how can a daughter be a girl, be an heir? And so that speaks.
And I think also late Murwana had one of the daughters take over one of the significant business.
Exactly, yes. And so that still baffles our society. So if you have a society that is surprised and opposed to girls, for example, however good, because if the parent has decided and made this choice, they have seen their child grow. They know what they are capable of. And so if we still have a society that is perturbed, is not supportive of the girl child taking on such responsibilities, then I think more importantly, even beyond the affirmative action, because the affirmative action will not be effective in itself if we do not address some of these key societal barriers that are affecting the woman or the girl child from coming up and thriving. And so you'll have affirmative action. It will only give you the numbers. Again, you'll have positions that are occupied by women, even top positions. But what is the output? Are they able to make those decisions that are down to the grassroots? When you go down to the local governments, that is a different story.
Why is it that you have taken over the top leadership, but when it comes to local leadership, where it is supposed to be the baseline, especially looking at the bottom-up approach, it is still lacking? Seniority at the top, who are supposed to be pushing women, who are supposed to be attracting women, who are supposed to say, now that we have this platform, let's also get our own into these positions. But if you go to the district council, if you go to the district leadership, you'd count 1, 2, 3, and it is not just in one district but across the country. Where is the problem? Where is the missing link?
Yeah, you see, just like I mentioned, our society or our communities are the ones that fuel most of these imbalances, most of these against women. And so it will not be surprising that the closer you get to the communities, the more those patriarchal and gender biased norms are going to manifest even more. So at the lower local level, when you go to, it is not surprising that for example in a district, in a community, any community, that you'll find people ganging up. Well, maybe not ganging up, but if you have a man and a woman that are standing, you'll find that the men will actually decide to give the man just because the opponent is a woman. They'll say, how can it be possible that in our community we have a woman that is speaking up for a man? It is unheard of, unthinkable that you'll have a woman that is going to lead a man. And so just because of that, even when they know that the woman is capable, they'll still go for the man. They'll just give the man. And so that is one of the things or the reasons that explains why you still have quite a number of men at this lower local level. But then again, we spoke about the education. So when a girl child is disadvantaged and does not access equal resources, it does not really, I think all we need is fairness in our education system. If for purposes of equity, if the girl child needs at some point, maybe every month, that she needs those sanitary towels, if they are not provided, then definitely it is not fair. It is not fair that she will, at the end of her maybe 7 years, compete with this boy child who has been studying throughout the month and did not miss any perhaps classes or lessons. And so it is some of these things again that keep some of these girls or ladies behind. Okay. And you find that when it comes to competing for some of the jobs, sometimes you're honestly not qualified, and so you have the man take on the job. But again too, and like you also know, we all know what has been happening with our service commissions, but also access to jobs in this country. There's a lot of corruption that you have to pay a certain amount, and sometimes because ladies are ladies and women, they are disadvantaged, they are taken advantage of. If you cannot, provide some other things, then you're going to be kicked out. But third, again, in jobs and the work environment, women are usually disadvantaged, especially in the private sector, because of the of the birth giving duties or the maternal functions that they have naturally, and you'll find an employer is going to be hesitant to take on a woman if they have two candidates, a man and a woman. They will weigh. These are both in their active years of work, but how many months, for example, will I lose if I employ the woman against the man? During her maternity leave, you will lose quite a number of days, and just because of that, you have employers leaving out women or even paying them less compared to the men. So there are quite a number of things that we need to address first as we think of this affirmative action for women.
Okay, interesting. I will come back to you, Christine, especially on women accountability. What do you account? Because at the end of the year, we always do annual auditing. If we are to audit the leadership, the affirmative action over 30 years, what do you say that you celebrate as women? That now that you had the platform, now that you had the voice, you say that we have done A, B, C, D, and because of that affirmative action. Because the reason as to why I bring in that, so many things that we do celebrate for affirmative actions are those that were established by then government. The 1.5, the other programs are still the same, and one would think that ever since they are given a platform, they have not adequately utilized it. I come to you, Chirinju, before I go into the break and also picking calls from our listeners. Why do you think women are entrusted and always looked at as capable candidates to occupy those senior positions? Many tend to keep look at it. They are very much accountable. They are not so much corrupt, and perhaps that could explain why they are taking up senior positions in this country. Looking at the IGG 3 positions, all of them, looking at the speaker, the prime minister, the vice president, the in charge of public service commission or public most of the even when you start, if you can start your own institution, one would think that employing a woman to be the MD or CEO would take that organization further than if you had a man.
Thank you very much. Women have that, I think it's a maternal instinct, that protective, thing of the children. So when they are leading an organization, I think that kicks in. They tend to look at the people they preside over as family, as she would do, defend her family. So that's why I think they tend to perform well. If you look at, for example, the Minister of Defense, Madame Yengom has been in the PS Force for a long time, and you can see how UPDF has really matured, and there is less corruption there. If it is that, it is punished, because the PS is really, really strict because of that. I think maternal instincts. Even when you look at the Ministry of Energy, which very lucrative ministry, oil everywhere, but that lady is she's doing a very good job. So I think that is that I think that's the reason, that maternal instinct to be protective, to be defensive of whatever, to be considerate, of whatever they are doing. But look, if you look at, for example, our vice president, she was a soldier. So one, she qualifies as a deputy commander in chief, having been in the military herself. But also she's educated. So with the combination of the two makes her, pretty qualified. When the president appointed the Right Honorable Nabanja, there was a lot of pushback, and funny enough, most of it was coming from men, like Christine said, our patriarchal society. But 5 years down the road, the government is winding up. And when we attended the NRM Manifesto Week, looking at the performance, there was a lot of the performance was above 85%. I think some ministries went up to 100. And some of them were 80 because of funding issues, not that because they were performing badly. But she has done a very good job. She has been, Prime Minister is the lead of government business. So if government business has performed above 90%, what else are you talking about? So our society still has those issues of pushback. I want to also comment on the numbers, which Christine seems to be worried about. That even when they are still small, but we are concentrating on numbers. I think for now, we let's have the numbers, because someone was criticizing UPE and just brings numbers. I'm like, yeah, we first of all we want a society that is literate. It may not be super intelligent, but literate. Start with literacy first, because if however intelligent you are, if you are illiterate, you may not grasp or comprehend what they are talking about. So you first push society to be literate, then super education will pick up from there. But for now, we cannot afford to have very intelligent few people and very many illiterate, citizens. We would rather do the opposite. Have 99% of the population literate, and maybe with very few intelligent people to guide them here and there. That's better, because that society can develop an economy rather than very, very few intelligent people and a society that can support the economy. So the numbers of women coming up in society, for me, for now, it's fine. Let's first have the numbers. Let's have the numbers in parliament, because you see, the numbers also help the younger girls down there. If a girl is about to jump out of school, or the parent is forcing her out of school, but she knows that Uganda's prime minister is a lady, so you're not going to tell a girl that, ladies use education for you is useless, when she's aware that the vice president is a woman, the prime minister is a lady, the IGG is a lady, the head of KCCA is a lady. She will be like, no, daddy, no. I see women who are up there leading us. And to be there, you must be above senior 6. So why do you want me to get married now? Some of the girls have refused. Why? Because now they are literate, they are aware. I agree with Christine when it comes to private sector. It is a bit difficult, because their government cannot force Magezi enterprises to hire a lady who's I am hearing she's getting married next week. I start thinking, getting married next week, that means the next 7 months.
Oh, she's 1 month pregnant.
Maybe she's already pregnant. I am going to
in 8 years. In 8 months, she would be seeking her leave.
Exactly, and the law says I should give her leave. So I'm going to think twice. But however, the NRM government for it what it has done to circumvent that bridge, that broken bridge, is to also introduce funding areas for women, projects like Grow Project, women banks, and now even PDM also now brings the money to the village, because if the woman is doing the business herself, she controls her maternity leave, she controls how she's going to navigate her pregnancy and childbirth, and then that period when the baby is still vulnerable. So in fact, the reason why some of the women have become better leaders is because during those times they prepare somebody to be there. Men sometimes don't prepare, because we're like, what if they take over my job, But when the woman knows I have an obstacle coming up, so I need to prepare, you don't know to stop doing business. So they tend to be, prepared better than us. They are organized. They are better organized than us. Then, mainly for us, you wake up in the morning and you look for any trouser that is just in front of you. Where and we go. But the lady would have ironed her things that night, and she knows I'm going to attend this function. They are going to be so if she even takes care of colors for a man, you just whatever is ironed. So it's very funny. You can wear even the same clothes of yesterday, and you are not totally bothered, completely unbothered. So there's that element.
Man is what is available.
So there's that element of being better organized than us in terms of how life works.
But we also talk about equality. Christine has been talking about in her introductory remarks. She said when we talk about affirmative action, we should not limit it to only women. But when it comes to some of the privileges that they enjoy, then we say, no, for you are men. And one wonders why the for example, when it comes to maternity leave and paternity leave, they want 3 months and man is given only 3 days.
I know, but it's maternity leave, I think, is based on biological issues. The lady would
but you also realize that men have responsibilities, especially when you have your wife and is pregnant. You must be there. You must provide. Yeah, they always say that women get pregnant physically, but also men get pregnant mentally, emotionally.
Yeah, in fact, for a man, the more pregnant
more pregnant than
the more you have to work more. So there's no need for maternity leave for you, because now you are dealing with one person, now you are dealing with the two. So what do you want to leave for?
Amon, just to make a small comment, perhaps a rejoinder on that issue of equality and equity. I'm always talking about equity. I don't believe there'll ever be anything like equality, gender equality. I believe rather that it has to be gender equity, because I know for a fact that equality is the equal access or provision of resources to all, but equity is access to resources in consideration of some of those special issues. For example, you have the biological functions of the woman. So you cannot give equal resources, for example, to women and to men. That would be unfair. Again, you have to have regard for the biological functions of the woman in terms of giving birth.
We should get more.
No, I don't think anyone should get more. I think they should get in view of the circumstances surrounding. So just to enable everyone partake of the resources that are prevailing or that are presented before them. So I think women will need that push, that extra support, because of their functions as they are growing up. There are those special functions that a girl has, to support their education, their access to education. You have to, for example, provide for those sanitary facilities. But again, we know that across the board, children, for example, in school are supposed to be given food, lunch. So this is supposed to be given to all across the board. So it is those things that you're going to provide to enable, fair access to the resources by all these people and children. The women, how are you going to take care of that when they have jobs? You have to give them that maternal leave off, and yeah, I think that is rightly provided for. Again, you talked about accountability. I just wanted to come in very briefly. Magezi touched about it. I want to specifically talk about the contribution in terms of even private sector. We know that women in this country own most of the SMEs, the small medium enterprises.
That's true.
And one of the reasons, of course, is because they have had access to some of this support by government. We have had the Grow Fund and many others, and so these have been able to support women go out there and engage in business enterprises, but also contribute to the tax base of this country, despite, of course, the existing challenges to these SMEs, but also to women specifically as a gender. we've seen corruption and the effect that it has had on our agenda for promoting gender, on the women, and it is massive. It is massive. It's actually beginning to destroy the gains that we had from affirmative actions. Just looking at the elections now, when you look at the election, and we know how commercialized our elections have become over time, and that is one of the factors that have kicked women out, have disadvantaged women to come up and contest for some of these positions, because, I mean, it is about the money. If you don't have the money, you cannot, make it to parliament, you cannot make it to some of these offices. And so we know that in society, usually men have the upper hand, have the advantage, because women access to resources is still a bit limited. We cannot access land. Most of the women, they do not have easy access to land, so that they can either mortgage it and get loans. But it is such factors, therefore, that have disadvantaged and continue to disadvantage women, and that we must get some kind of solutions for. But again, we have to go back to society and dig up the causes, so that we are able to address these problems that hinder women participation.
But maybe to add on her point before you go to break, if there's a man with a plot of land and a lady with a plot of land, and they are considering politics, a man may not think twice taking that land to the bank, while the lady will do some homework. So sometimes it may not be the disadvantagement of the ladies; it may be their way of handling things. And if you look at politics, I think men have become more bankrupt over time than ladies, because the lady will be like, I think this is enough. If I cannot put my house in the bank to go and stand, so they will withdraw. For us, we're like, no, I will make another, and I will make another money. So we tend to be a little bit of reckless.
It's called more risk.
We
taking.
we tend to just jump into risks anyhow, as opposed to, because the woman will be like, my child is now in senior 4. If I don't win, it's trouble. A man will be like, that kind of thinking.
Yeah, I stopped in senior 2. For him, as senior.
It passed to me, so let me jump into the fray and see, because I know at least some few politicians who ideally were rich people in private life, but right now they have sold most of the things to just compete. I think one day I'll go to Makerere to and look for a professor of psychology to help me understand this. How do you sell off your properties to go and be an MP and earn money that can't replace what you are selling off? It doesn't make sense. But
it goes back to what you said, risking.
Yeah, but now the ladies tend to handle risk better. They tend to think through. Yeah, maybe it prevents them from being richer, because the more risk, sometimes the richer you become. But at least they preserve what is there. You realize the man has gone bankrupt, and he's running back to the lady whom he had even been,
denying some money.
Denying some money. Now he's the one who's broke. Why? Because he went and contested.
Maybe that also explains why banks now trust women than men, and they have so many programs for women. The other day, I had a gentleman say that in future these people are pushing us to impersonate to be women.
You just come wearing a wig and
because so many programs in the banks there. Superwoman, grow. What?
What do you need? A woman can grow. All you need to do, just prove that you have a running business. That's it. For us, even if you have running, what the requirements increase.
The conditions are
they are tightened because of our recklessness. So the ladies have that that inbuilt capacity to control many things. A woman can handle an abusive marriage for a long time. A man can't. You run away. You have your lady abusing you. I be like, you know what? I'm out of here. But for the lady, because of the children probably, and But you see, even when you look at it from the biological point of view, creation point of view, it is few animals that marry, human beings, and a few other, maybe 2 to 3. Why? But other animals, when the female gets pregnant, the lion is off. At least for the lions, they live like in families. But like a snake, after pregnancy, after the female gets pregnant, the male snake takes off and never seen. Maybe to meet the children later, but not knowing. But so because of the way human beings were created, women have more balance because they are the ones with the kids most of the time.
In this generation, some men are turning to be snakes now.
Yes,
because after news of pregnancy, they run away.
They run completely.
Yeah, I was actually listening to a talk show on one of the radios on my way here, and they were discussing neonatal and preterm babies. And so they were saying about 70+% of women or of men will run away, will abandon the women when they discover that the child is preterm, is born before term. And for the few that are able to actually take some responsibility, they just pay the hospital bill, and then they'll say, for us in our culture, we don't give birth to preterm. Yeah.
Interesting. That takes us to a break, and we're coming back in a bit. I pray don't go away. It is the next part that we're coming through that we're going to consider your views, both on messages and also your calls on 776-511-426. That is the line that you can use and participate. What do you think we need to celebrate as women, and also looking at the affirmative action and women in leadership, the gains, but also the gaps and the road ahead. Ground Zero takes a very short break. We're coming back in a bit. I pray don't go away.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
At UBC Radio, all our radio network across the country is committed to inform, entertain, educate, and guide for national transformation.
On radio, UBC should set its own example. Leka bano abatafa ku bantu baffe bagumaza ndowooza Muganda hita okugumaza to divert people. Let our own UBC bring programs to educate the people so that abagala kugumaza babeereyo bagumaza naye naffe they can advise, guide. And people in time will judge the one who is their friend and who is just using them.
Tune into UBC Radios for credible socio-economic programs. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Is independent sound.
UBC has 11 sister radio stations spread throughout the country to educate, inform, and entertain. Tune into UBC Radio FM 98, your national radio station, Magic 100, where sports and music is our life. 87.5 Star FM in Uganda, 97.4 UBC West covering Western Uganda, 102 Mega FM in Gulu, 97 FM Butebo Radio in Eastern Uganda, 107.0 Bududi FM, 100.5 Ngea FM in Kasese, 98.0 West Nile FM in Arua, Total Ray Radio FM 90 in Karamoja, and 93.0 Voice of Mundbujo. Now you're covered in your local language.
UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda.
The link, the minimum standard which is expected of a public officer or a leader. This is nothing to deal with declarations. It's how you behave, how you conduct yourself in office and outside office.
The link.
I'm a chief. Yes. If my children are not disciplined, then I can't discipline other people because my children will be the role model of the community.
The link.
Because here the whole hulabaloo is caused by the introduction of the new lower secondary school curriculum, which is calling for research.
The link on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information.
In today's link, let's know more about domestic violence. My name is Mary Prima Awori. Domestic violence is violence committed by someone in the victim's domestic circle. The term domestic violence is used when there is a close relationship between the offender and the victim. This includes partners and ex-partners, immediate family members, other relatives and family friends. Domestic abuse is physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological actions or threats of action that influence another person. Recent statistics in Uganda shows that 30% of women, or 1 of every 3 women, is a victim of physical and or sexual domestic violence at least once in their lifetime. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics report published in 2007 shows that 68 of ever married women aged 15 to 49 years had experienced some form of violence inflicted on them by their spouse or intimate partner. According to the Annual Crime Report 2021, the Uganda Police Force recorded a total of 17,533 cases of domestic violence compared to 17,664 reported in 2020, showing a 0.74% decrease. Domestic violence cases are mainly caused by disputes over family property, failure to provide for the family, drug and alcohol abuse, and cases of infidelity which highly lead to deaths, divorce, and depression. In Uganda, the legislation that deals with domestic violence is the Domestic Violence Act 2010, the act to provide for the protection and relief of victims of domestic violence, to provide for the punishment of perpetrators of domestic violence, to provide for the procedure and guidelines to be followed by the court in relation to the protection and compensation of victims of domestic violence, to provide for the jurisdiction of court, to provide for the enforcement of order made by the court, to enforce the family and child court, to handle cases of domestic violence and for related matters. Under the Domestic Violence Act 2010, Section 4 contains the prohibition of domestic violence, stating that a person in a domestic relationship shall not engage in domestic violence. A person in a domestic relationship who engages in domestic violence commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 48 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or to both. The court may, in addition to imposing a fine or imprisonment, order the offender in a case of domestic violence to pay compensation to a victim of an amount determined by the court. In determining the compensation under subsection 3, the court shall be guided by the principle in the second schedule. According to Uganda Police, a total of 17,553 people were victims of domestic violence, of whom 3,103 were adult male, 12,877 were adult females, while 871 and 702 were male and female juveniles respectively. Anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, race, gender, sexual orientation, faith, or class. As individuals, let's fight against domestic violence by 1. Recognizing domestic violence for what it is. 2. Contact your local area leaders such as the LC1 chairperson or defense secretary. 3. Report your case to the nearest police station. 4. Contact legal aid service providers who may help you to get a protection order against your abuser, and also seek medical care in cases of sexual and physical abuse. Consent of a victim is no defense in domestic violence. My name is Mary Prima Award.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Comes back in the next part of our program, and it is the right time that you call us on 776-511-426 and share your views and perspectives on the affirmative action, women leadership. We're looking at the gains, gaps, and the road ahead. You're live on UBC Ground Zero.
Yes, this is Henry Waguma.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much for the program, fantastic program.
Thank you, sir.
My contribution is that affirmative action and special interest groups policies came up that were very, very good policies. But what has failed us is no implementation, there's no follow-up, and even no facilitation at all. This therefore has made this to become just political, not technical. So the practical side of these positions is not being implemented at all. I give an example, for example, about the women councils. My village here where I stay, we have a chairperson of Women Council and 5 members of the Women Councils. At parish levels, we have the 5 women councillors. And then up the divisional level. Now, they are not even funded, no, they are not facilitated. Now, on the contrary, the people who are given allowances are councillors, women, female councillors. But their leaders, the chairperson, the vice chairperson, are simply figureheads. Some case in Kampala here, Kampala Capital City Authority has also a Kampala District Women's Council, but nobody knows who these are. So this is my biggest question: what is happening with implementation and facilitation? That's one side of the women. When it goes to special interest groups like the elders, we have members of parliament, 5 members of parliament. That is the only time they get money because they're given allowances in parliament. Other groups know that, and apart from the minister for elderly, the rest are simply figureheads. So I would like to call upon NGOs and other stakeholders in this game to fight for implementation fully of the special interest groups policies. Number 2, they should be funded. But besides that, really, women, for example, are doing very well. Look at the schools or women's schools in Uganda. Nabisusa Girls School, which is one of my favorite schools. Nabisusa Girls School is doing very well. We have Gayaza Girls School is one of the historicals and is doing very well. So women are not so behind reality. They are moving on, except they are not being highlighted in the public scenes. That's my contribution, and thank you very much. But I still insist, these special groups' interests should be funded. There should be a special fund for them, and that money should be public. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Thank you for making such significant contributions in today's edition of Ground Zero, Baguma. You're live on UBC Ground Zero.
Thank you. This is Juma calling from Buteega.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning to you and everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
For us, okay, me, myself, personally, I come from Navy, but women who are in leadership, let me say political ground, some of them lack of unity. And there is nothing about a woman to woman, regardless of their political party where they are about. But now for me, on my ground, I feel like women who are elevated from the pitch there, to set the basics, to elevate these ones who are illiterate, such that a girl child education will become paramount. Issues of sanitary pads, some of them, they are dropping out from school because of lacking of those, and yet you'll find on the ground, it is the members who are from the male side promising them and never fulfill them. So I feel like those priorities, some of them, which are basics for the female, should be considered by their own representatives. Because for them, it is through the experience and the motherhood. Then with that mindset, the country will grow together. Otherwise, if the power become at a mess, we find men are contributing more than the women, and yet they have their representatives. So women deserve to be monitored such that the services, other ones who are in remote places, they could also score a credit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much, Juma, for sharing your views on UBC Ground Zero today. 776-511-426 is the number you can go through and share your opinions or concerns, those that you think can be addressed by my guests in the studios. I have messages also coming in. Rogers say, Amon, the women have abused the affirmative action. If you had to look at the points, most of them, they are not gaining them. They have not studied hard, well knowing that there is a free mark. But also women who are in these positions, they have not fought for their cause, and that's how I say that they have abused the affirmative action and what its purpose was for. Rogers there. Thank you, UBC, for the good program today. I am Imelda. Amon, I want to inform you that women are fighting women. I want to assure you that instead of meeting a human resource female officer, I rather meet a male officer. A woman to a woman, it is disaster. That's how they have not elevated to the positions that they have given them because of these fights. All right, Imelda there. You're live on UBC Ground Zero.
Hello. Hello.
You're live and clear. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Nze Semaganda Joanita ngenda kwogera Uganda.
All right.
Era nkubye nga ntinda naye wabakadde wenjogerera wano kati twalonda era ndi kakiiko akasabu kawunte akagatta Bukoto 1 n'Entinda parishes naye nendondebwanga Trezara ekibuuzo ekineebuuza Trezara mu bigambo ye Trezara mu nkola esente zenaawanikira abakadde bange ziruwa era zigenda kuvaawa oba tuliwo nga bigambo Trezara ekigambo ekyo mukiteekeko omulaka mukiteekeko amaanyi tuleme kukuuma nsawo njereere nga n'abakawunti batusuubiramu ssente n'abawansi nga nabo batusuubiramu ssente okuva ku saabu kawunti bwentyo bwenteeseza obukiiko bw'abakyala bwonna buli awo bwereere bakazi baliko ekifo kya Trezara bawanika ki ensonga eyo nva ku muzindaalo nga neeta tubuulire kyekiddako abantu baleme kutusuubira nti ffe eno tulina essente mu nsawo zaffe nga teteri. Nze Semaganda Joanita okuva Entinda.
Tuyanza nnyo. Well, we always respect everyone's views, but this program is for English, but as I said, we respect everyone's views, and that's how, Joanita, you're able to raise your concerns, and I pray they be addressed. 776-511-426. I think I had already made read comments from Imelda Rogers there, and also Sekabugo says it is the right time now men also start agitating for their rights, and we need affirmative action for men because the women have been so much elevated, and the boy child is now suffering. What is next? If they have celebrated 30 years, I think they have reached a point where we need to be treated equal. No more affirmative action for women. Kabugo there. All right, we'll keep on reading these messages as they come in, and also your calls. Allow me to go back to the studios for my guests to be able to address some of these concerns. But before I go, maybe I can get this one. You're live on radio.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
You're talking to Moses. I'm calling in from Chibudi.
All right.
I want to thank you so much for the show.
Thank you, sir.
And for the visitors that are in the studio at this moment. I think it's time we said that what a man can do, a woman can do so. I do believe in woman emancipation. But if this goes beyond, what do you expect from men? Every day we talk about gender-based violence. We talk about women. But what do we have for men in custody? We talk about a girl child. Do we have this mind in us that sometimes there are no violence against men? There is no child abuse against a boy child? For our visitors, what they have shared and what they have talked with us, now I would have to ask myself, if we continue to preach the gospel according to women emancipation every day, when we come here in Uganda, we celebrate Women's Day, what should a man do? Or what should we do for men? If we say most of the officers, let's give a chance to women. We have seen the vice president, we have seen the prime minister, we have seen the speaker of parliament. All these are women. Are we rebalancing men vis-a-vis women?
All right.
If that can be answered, then I lay my case. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Comments there coming in from our dear listeners who are part of us from the other side of radio. So many messages still coming in. I am Emmanuel. Amon, thank you for the program and the guests in your studios there. Women emancipation and also affirmative action has turned out to bear bad fruits, sour fruits for our communities. Women don't want to get married. For those who get married, when they're in those big positions, they don't want to respect their husbands as long as they are their heads. You can imagine someone who is in a big position, respected in society, when she comes back home, she doesn't want to be treated like a wife. I think affirmative action has bared sour fruits in our society. All right, so many messages still coming in. I will keep reading some as they come through and allow me go out to the studios for my guests to be able to address some of those concerns. Christine and also Chirinju, you'll address them. Christine.
Thank you very much to the callers. Quite a number of contributions and questions. First of all, Henry Baguma, he spoke about the need for implementation of some of these policies on affirmative action, and I entirely agree with him. Actually, I think as a country moving forward, we need to do some kind of data and research, and then produce reports on how far, on what we have achieved as a result of affirmative action as a government. Because even when you have these policies, you need to have some kind of M&E plan, see how they are contributing. But if that is there, I haven't seen it, I must confess, but it would be good for us to evaluate all these efforts towards affirmative action, and then we see what progress is there, but also what sentiments are we sending out to the public, because we might have introduced affirmative action in good faith, but the unseen or unanticipated effects might actually be, more negative, because we have Moses complaining and saying, where are we leaving the boy child? Everything we are talking about, the woman, the Women's Day, it talks about Women's Day, and so it looks like you're creating more of a problem than the solution, because I think the purpose initially for affirmative action was not to create equality. Again, I don't think it was to create equality, but it was to support this group that was disadvantaged to be able to come to the same table, support them to rise up to this step and then take it on from there by themselves, but not to support them up to the end and make them the favorite, maybe like the favorite child who will then be hated in the future. So for data, I definitely believe that we need to identify and see where we are. Gentleman from Nebi talked about paths. Definitely, I agree. We need to continue and support the females to be able to access, for example, education, a good quality education. Imelda talked about women fighting women. I couldn't agree more. Sometimes we have seen this. I earlier talked about some of these political candidates who have become comfortable, and you have women in that space competing against each other. Joanita, who called in and spoke in Uganda, yes, she talked about being a treasurer, but not seeing the money. You'll correct me if I didn't pick it well, but I think that is partly because of corruption. There's a lot of corruption, and you might be put there and expected to do so much, but there's corruption. Perhaps funds are not there, they are swindled somewhere, and you're expected to take up this position. But this, I think, cuts across. It both affects men and women, the issue of corruption. Moses in Chibuli is asking, where is the balance between men? Is asking where are we going to strike a balance between men and women? And for me, I definitely do believe that we need to concentrate on quality. Beyond the affirmative action, we need to concentrate on quality. If you have two individuals presented before you, you have a woman and a man, I think above all, we need to look at the qualifications. We need to look at who is more qualified to take a certain position. But for appointments like ministers, definitely that is beyond me. I cannot comment on that. I cannot.
We also talked about from the time we started, we've been commenting on the quality versus quantity, and I think that has been sorted. Looking at the most 10 top positions in this country's leadership, I think 6 or half of that is occupied by women. Is that what you are dating for, or you would love many women in different positions, but when they are not taking up key or senior positions?
Yes, definitely. Earlier I spoke about the 146 slots that are given to the women, the direct women slots for the districts, and how I wish we could even remove them now, because those ones are making our women now, somehow either not believe in themselves or just be comfortable and take advantage of that. So, and yet, if they were to stand against men, they have a chance of going through. I mean, people have seen what they are capable of, what they can do out there.
So to you, we don't still need the women district member of parliament?
No, some of these, and again, that's why we need to go back and keep revising some of these actions or policies that we have put in place to support affirmative action. Like Magezi said, if we decide to retain them, why wouldn't we have maybe a candidate run for 1 or 2 terms and let the other women benefit as well?
Okay, we have to remove some of these privileges. You say district member of parliament off. Do we still need 1.5 points at senior 6 for females? When the women are leading and winning?
Yeah, those are some of the revisions, again, that I've mentioned, that we need to think. I think for everything that we do, we need to go back and look at the data. We need to collect the data and say we introduced these affirmative action policies and actions. Can we now see how far have we gone? Have we achieved? And so we need to rethink some of these policies. But if you put them there and leave them for good, you'll have such kinds of complaints.
People will start using them.
Exactly. So I think I agree with most of the. But for some, of course, we need to know the purpose again for why the affirmative actions were created, and then review them. We cannot just complain or, wish them away unless we have the data and the statistics to see whether we have progressed and why we have progressed or we have not, and why we have not progressed. But over and above, I think we need to review and I again agree entirely with Mr. Baguma, the implementation we see from where we sit, some of these policies are just there and they are not implemented. I already gave an example of the workplace affirmative action, which is abused in most, especially private sector. The laws are for everyone, of course. The constitution is made for everyone. But in workplaces, you see total denial of the rights of women, and in terms of maternity leaves, workplace areas, secure areas for nursing mothers and all such things. And so, I think for me, we need to review generally and see how far we have come.
Let me start from, I think, there. Personally, most of the provisions in affirmative action area, they should stay, but maybe some of them can be reviewed. Politically, let the district woman MP be term limited, maybe to 2 terms, so that we have more women getting empowered.
But they will start saying now you are limiting them. Why should a man stand for several terms, yet you are trying to limit the women?
Because it's a special group that whoever replaces her is also a woman. So the men are not they are not benefiting at all. So that argument shouldn't be there. Because the men's constituencies attract all candidates, all women, and sometimes men get defeated. So the point should be, if it's an affirmative action office, let it be term limited, because it is intended to empower women. So you cannot be in that seat alone. You mean by the 10th year you're empowered.
Rest of your life.
By the 10th year you're empowered. So leave, empower another one. But on 1.5 HSC points to universities, that one should stay, because when you look at the dropout, the statistics so far, the girls tend to drop out more, especially in rural areas. By P7, you have half married, or their parents have, dropped them out of school. So for that purpose, because they drop out more, we can keep it, we can have it still continuing. Back to the people who called in, we thank them. Baguma was speaking of implementation and follow-up. I think, I don't know what he wanted us to follow up to gather the statistics of which women have been appointed. I think those ones you can know. If you look at our cabinet, you don't need to gather those statistics. You can do them by yourself. If you wanted to do this data, you can go to each district and see the cows, number of cows, number of RDCs, number of those RC3s, and see how women are performing. Some of them are appointments, others are elective. RDCs appointments, RC5 is elective, and RC3 I think. So then you do the math. However, Baguma and the Semaganda, the lady from Ntinda, I think they are speaking about the same thing of funding. Yes, they are councils, but they are not funded. That's challenging. Somebody spoke of sour fruits from affirmative action where marriages are not working. No, that one I didn't understand exactly what you were saying, but probably is what we were discussing earlier. This society of men.
He was looking at an empowered woman who reaches home and still wants to be an empowered woman. You can imagine a full minister, and when she reaches home, you want to order her like you would be ordering a normal person.
But you see, Samia Suluhu is married. Probably she might even be a second wife, considering she's a Muslim. The husband is definitely Muslim. She may be married with another woman somewhere because of the culture. She's the president of Tanzania. And our vice president is married to, I think they told me the husband was a soldier, not even a general. Somewhere, maybe a colonel now. But they are married properly. So you see, it's that parochial society we're talking about. You want to reach home and the woman should say nothing. Unfortunately, she's now educated. She knows, you cannot, put me down like that. And, in those early societies, the woman was the sole, giver, the sole breadwinner. Today, woman can be the CEO. And for you are there feeling guilty, the woman earns more than me. Rather than be happy that your lady is doing well, for you feel, that inadequacy. It's a mental issue, And then somebody was talking about women to women, their relationship is a disaster. I think all of us, you look at Sudan, the warring factions are not led by women. They were former friends in the army, both of them. So while the women may squabble here, for us, we murder ourselves. So they are not alone. They do a better job quarreling. For us, we do.
Theirs is a bit fairer.
Fairer. Ours is much worse. So you shouldn't worry. For us, when we quarrel, we really quarrel badly. Even when we are competing with women, we kill each other. So we are not really the women, and she shouldn't be worried that theirs is the one which is not good. Even ours is not the best. Even in an environment where there is like workspace, someone was telling me that when you're applying for a job in some of these areas, don't put all qualifications, especially if the job is asking certain. You step, even if you have more than they are requiring, stop at where you even leave something out, like a small qualification, leave it out. Why? The person doing the interview is the boss. Especially if it's a government environment, if that person sees how your qualifications might be worried, that my job is online. So or even as men, we are not the best of friends. Someone was talking about affirmative action for men. Yeah, it would now require a case of special needs. Is there a sector where women have overrun?
Because he believes that the affirmative action for women has reached its purpose 30 years and they seem to be empowered, they seem to be in places where they wanted to be. It is either up top and we are all equal. Is it equal or equity or equality that Christine explained? Or it is high time now men also agitate for their emancipation, because it's according to what he thinks. So women are taking over everything.
Like I said earlier, if when it comes to education, the women, the girl child drops out more. So there's still an inequality there. When it comes to politics, say parliament, we have a woman district MP. If we were to create man district MP, maybe the other constituency will give them to, the disability people, so that we balance out. But otherwise, even when the 146 women enter parliament, they still perform badly with the other constituencies available, because they are hamstrung by what we're discussing about. The campaign period may come when she's pregnant or she's breastfeeding a very young child, so she ends up not going there. Like Christine said earlier, she may not be able financially because she was never left with anything in the family, or the husband has registered everything in his name, so she has no money. So the women are still disadvantaged. You shouldn't be mistaken on that. They are still disadvantaged. However, I wanted to. This one, I think Christine may have to. It's basically, I'm sending it to her. I was discussing with some ladies some time back. I was invited to a workshop, and they were discussing abusive men. Abusive boys in the family. You find the boy abusing the mom, or the husband beating the wife. What is the cause? So to me, I told them, look, when you look at the way we are brought up in our societies, in African setup, children spend more time with the woman, because a woman was not working, probably is always at home. A man goes and comes back either tired or drunk, one of the two. So we spend more time with women spend more time with the children. Now, if they turn out to be abusers of women, who is the problem?
They are the makers.
Hey, what were you telling the boy? One. Some of them are don't cook. You know, so the things are told to the boys by the women. So, there may be now affirmative action again. Where does it come in? I don't see, because we are being taught by our mothers to be hard on them. You get so maybe the Christian can tell us how, as the mother probably herself, what happened there.
Yeah, I think I can come in there now.
Please,
Mr. Chirinju,
your own abusers, because you are the ones nurturing this boy.
Yeah, they are the ones nurturing us.
Now, one, I believe the head. Now we'll go back to family, but we'll not dwell into so much into this. The head of the family is always, again, this is in our society and communities, the head of the family is the man, and in most cases you'll find the man is the role model for the children, especially for the boy child. And so where the man has been absent, clearly
the role
absent,
model who is not at home always.
The
role model
exactly.
is the person you are seeing every second.
That is where I'm coming. So if you find the man who is the role model is consistently absent from this space, that is a recipe for disaster, because you'll find the boy who has failed to be modeled, by the role model. How will a woman teach a man how to live and behave? The boys will always see and pick and mimic perhaps what their fathers do. Because I think naturally and biologically we might be wired to do that, You see, this is a man, and when you grow up, basically these are the footsteps you're following up in. So you'll find, and you can go and do some research, if the man in the home or in the house is always present, is guiding the boy child, you'll definitely find the boy children from this home are different from the home where this is not always done. So if the man is present, take it from me, then you'll have, and doing his job, of course, you'll have a family that produces boys that are responsible. But on the other hand, if you have a violent man in the home, and usually when you listen to testimonies, these wife beaters, the violent boy children or men, they'll tell you, unfortunately, I grew up seeing my father doing this, alcoholism and etc. So somehow it just follows. It's not that they have been taught by the women to be hard. That is wrong. So I just wanted to
indeed, that's a very good concern. I think family, one day I will liaise with my producers that one day we have a program especially on family. I can see both of you are trying to defend your position, especially on family level. Time being not on our side, Christine, I would request you and challenge you to give your way forward. What is the take home, looking ahead? We have talked about the gains, we have talked about the gaps. So what do we see going ahead, and what should be your take home?
Yes, thank you, Amon. And for me, in as far as affirmative action, I believe that we need to look at our context as a community, our social context, our cultures. They shape how we, administer or even improve or achieve our plans under affirmative action. You need to first go back and understand why women are marginalized in the first place. You need to have the boys, the men on board as you plan this affirmative action. Otherwise, you will not achieve much. You have already seen, because are we encouraging, for example, continued marginalization? If we have these affirmative action policies, are they forever? Are we saying that they are for a certain time, maybe for 30 years, we review and see if we have achieved, which I don't seem to see. I would really be interested in seeing how far or how much, what progress do we have as compared to when we first started and where we are headed and what we want to achieve. So for me, it is addressing those barriers, those societal barriers. Even, for example, when you add on the 1.5 points for the girl child that Magezi is defending very much. But for me, how are you supporting this girl child right from the basic, right from the basics as this child enters school? What safeguards or support measures have you put for them? Are you ensuring that they stay in school, for example? Giving them the 1.5 points is more of addressing a symptom than the root cause. So if we give them that foundation that they are able, even with the boys, to compete favorably, I think that would be better than us now coming and addressing this problem when things have already happened at a much later stage, giving them positions instead of considering quality. Again, you talked about more women drop out and we should leave some of these affirmative actions. But again, you look at the context. If you go to a place like the Karamoja sub-region, I remember there's a friend who was telling us, you see now for us education, especially for the boys, you only pick the ones who, who are not as bright. You want to pick the most bright, the ones who look very responsible, and those are the ones you want to follow in your feet as heads boys. So those ones will not step in class, and that's not because, they're marginalized. So I think we need to look at the different contexts and see how we can engage the society, how we can break the barriers. It's just like, again, putting some of these affirmative actions in some places, some cultures. Now, like in Buganda culture, in many other cultures, it will be harder for you to enforce affirmative action when you're bringing up the girl and just giving her these benefits at a much later stage. So for me, let us interact with the society, let us appreciate the norms, and then we can begin engaging from there and coining out solutions that will be more lasting for the women.
Right. Thank you so very much, Christine. Chirinju.
Thank you once again. By telling, there's another person who was saying that we are celebrating Women's Day. I think Women's Day is an international holiday, and it is not. They are our mothers, so let's celebrate them. There are so many holidays.
But also, men are our fathers.
There are so many holidays where men are in charge.
The rest of the days are for men. Yeah, so only
one day.
So women have only one day. Yeah.
But my NRM government for it is it's not relenting when it comes to women emancipation. Now, when the government finished with education and the political part, they are now going back. They are now going to the most important one: economic empowerment. So that's why there are all these programs for ladies. Even PDM targets women because they are at parish level. They are the ones who can anchor that money to stay in society. For us men, we shall spend it. That one I can tell you. We still have that issue. You get money from PDM. First thing you think about is, the dates you drank and all those things. So, but the women would have gardens. They improve them. They would have, their animals. They would make sure their animals are now living better. So, empowering a woman is empowering a nation. That one we now at least we agree. Even if you are a chauvinistic man, at least men come to Kampala and to work, but they go back home and find the home is still a home because there is a woman there. So we know the women are a foundation of a family. When they sit in a family, it stays stable. So empowering women is empowering a nation. So we are not going, as NRM government, we are not going to relent on having our mothers, our sisters get empowered. Yes, in the future, the 1.5 can be reviewed because I think sometimes some ladies, like in the Absunsa, for example, may not even realize they may not need it. They would have already passed. So it's only topped up for the sake because it is available. But otherwise, they would have already scored so much high beyond it. But remember, our rural schools, it will benefit somebody. So I agree with Christian. Some of them may need review, but it's still too early to review. Lastly, I would like to remind our voters that
what is not too early for you, because 30 years and still counting is not a small time.
30 years, society. First of all, many people tend to think 30 years covered the whole of Uganda. Of the 30 years, northern Uganda lost 20. So how are you going to remove one? So how are you going to remove 1.5 for a region? So you keep it until the other region catches up. I mean, look at Karamoja. The president was like, he found a slogan saying, "We shall not wait for Karamoja." You guys know how. For us, we shall wait for what? For Karamoja. And Karamoja now has gold, has factories of, So very soon again, Karamoja maybe one asking.
That was known to be a desert. Now they have dams.
Exactly. Maybe one asking us, where are you people? For us, we moved on. So there's that thing of, let's all of us move together. Lastly, my candidate is Nibusi and Bujiri, His Excellency President. I remind you that come January 2015, you vote for the man himself, the President Museveni, to keep the gains we've already gotten in women emancipation, but also to make the gains even higher in women emancipation. We need our mothers to be even better than they are today.
So the affirmative action is part of the gains that they need to protect.
Definitely.
But as they protect the affirmative action, we want the data. We want the accountability. This far, 30 years later, what have we achieved against all this affirmative action to inform our next steps as we prepare to either remove some of these benefits or improve and strengthen some others.
But you said it yourself, the largest numbers of small and medium enterprises are owned by women.
That's the gain.
That's a very big gain.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our discussion. I want to thank you, Christina Wirinjiro, project manager coming from Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, for making time to come through on UBC Ground Zero, and also Majesty Chilinshu, who is the communications officer coming from Government Citizen Interaction Center, for sparing time to come through and talk to the people of Uganda, and also those who participated in our programs by sending in your messages, and those that called in. We can't take that for granted. Thank you for your time and airtime, and also those of you who are part of us from the other side of radio on UBC Butebo in Eastern Uganda, Western Nile Radio in Arua there, UBC Radio in Kampala, Magic 100 FM in Kampala, Voice of Bondobuja, and those who are part of us from the online audience or YouTube. We always thank you so very much, and we're always here because you are there. Until next time, same station, same program. Ampaire Amon Buteega is my name. Allow me now to sign out. A nice weekend from me and the team.
That was Ground Zero Season 2, a production of Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The minimum standard which is expected of a public officer or a leader. This is nothing to deal with declarations. It's how you behave, how you conduct yourself in office and outside office.
I'm a chief. Yes. If my children are not disciplined, then I can't discipline other people, because my children will be the role model of the community.
Because here the whole hulabaloo is caused by the introduction of the new lower secondary school curriculum, which is calling for research.
The Link on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information.
In today's link, let's know more about domestic violence. My name is Mary Prima Awor. Domestic violence is violence committed by someone in the victim's domestic circle. The term domestic violence is used when there is a close relationship between the offender and the victim. This includes partners and ex-partners, immediate family members, other relatives and family friends. Domestic abuse is physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological actions or threats of action that influence another person. Recent statistics in Uganda shows that 30% of women, or 1 of every 3 women, is a victim of physical and or sexual domestic violence at least once in their lifetime. The Uganda Bureau of Statistics report published in 2007 shows that 68 of ever married women aged 15 to 49 years had experienced some form of violence inflicted on them by their spouse or intimate partner. According to the Annual Crime Report 2021, the Uganda Police Force recorded a total of 17,533 cases of domestic violence compared to 17,664 reported in 2020, showing a 0.74% decrease. Domestic violence cases are mainly caused by disputes over family property, failure to provide for the family, drug and alcohol abuse, and cases of infidelity which highly lead to deaths, divorce, and depression. In Uganda, the legislation that deals with domestic violence is the Domestic Violence Act 2010, the act to provide for the protection and relief of victims of domestic violence, to provide for the punishment of perpetrators of domestic violence, to provide for the procedure and guidelines to be followed by the court in relation to the protection and compensation of victims of domestic violence, to provide for the jurisdiction of court, to provide for the enforcement of order made by the court, to enforce the family and child court, to handle cases of domestic violence and for related matters. Under the Domestic Violence Act 2010, Section 4 contains the prohibition of domestic violence, stating that a person in a domestic relationship shall not engage in domestic violence. A person in a domestic relationship who engages in domestic violence commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 48 currency points or imprisonment not exceeding 2 years or to both. The court may, in addition to imposing a fine or imprisonment, order the offender in a case of domestic violence to pay compensation to a victim of an amount determined by the court. In determining the compensation under subsection 3, the court shall be guided by the principle in the second schedule. According to Uganda Police, a total of 17,553 people were victims of domestic violence, of whom 3,103 were adult male, 12,877 were adult females, while 871 and 702 were male and female juveniles respectively. Anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, race, gender, sexual orientation, faith, or class. As individuals, let's fight against domestic violence by 1. Recognizing domestic violence for what it is. 2. Contact your local area leaders such as the LC1 chairperson or defense secretary. 3. Report your case to the nearest police station. 4. Contact legal aid service providers who may help you to get a protection order against your abuser, and also seek medical care in cases of sexual and physical abuse. Consent of a victim is no defense in domestic violence. My name is Mary Prima Award.
UBC Radio brings to you the Timeline Radio Show, the space for civic and political rights for Ugandans. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda. This is UBC Radio, the home of inspiration.
Omwenengo wefe owabugwe Secretary General wesikanda nende abashe bahola nabo. Honorable members our parliament, ba minister abaliano, kwaba nende ba members of parliament. Kwaba nende abantu befe bahwadisa ebendera bahulanga mwe flag bearers eri abemeresi ba madini abakeni mwesi omushalirano mwebalo huicha. Your Excellency hulu abantu bebusya ndahuira esangalo lingi ohwanirisa mu Busya district ndahaso husomera ho bitono ebidira ho Busya iri nende abantu emitwalo anamwemu 1200 ende sanvu mwemu okusinzira okubala kwa abantu ohwabiri abiri munya kwaba nende abahasi emitwalo abasacha emitwalo 19 elifu kine emyanda lende 14 kwaba nende emitwalo abiri mwemu elifu 8 emya 557 abesihasi district iri nende constituency kine kuli nende Samya Bugwe South nga ihwadisya ebendera ni Honorable Maganda Julius Wandera kwaba nende Samya Bugwe Central Constituency ihwadisya ebendera niye omwami Wanyama Richard Hamada amanyihe ngo musicheche kwaba nende Samya Bugwe North Constituency ihwadisye bendera niye area member of parliament and minister of state for foreign affairs Honorable John Mulimba kwaba nende municipality Busia ihwadisya ebendera niye Mulemya Sowedi kwaba nende achohihira bahaye mu parliament ihwadisa ebendera omuhaye Anyango Janet Hope eri oliali district irinde municipality ndala yaba nende divisions kibiri yaba nende town council kine yaba nende emiluha sambu na magombolola 14 na magombolola abiri kwaba nende ngongo 5 nkaga 8 ndaho kwebasa president kulo mulembe nende byotuberese omalaho banabusya batumire kusomereho ebindu bine ebihiro bungi kuberese bana bawo ba protocol abachodisa nende PPS for your perusal your excellency esisoha gazettinga no personalizinga boda kibiri eyo mulwanda ebitebunyide yabitowa chango macho road ni connecting musita nende Buteba border point ohendesa humuichulo okwa border chebusha nende Malaba esyo hubiri restore royalties from gold mines payable to Busia district and bwenengo bwa Bugwe kwaba nende syo hudatu ohutao district yelumino esyo hune compensatinga abandu baumia musiya sikulanga mbo insurgency kwali nende sya foba force obotebag kwaba nende omwero owa UPA nende la kwena ndahwireha bino okhwebasa omukhulundu kulo khutuberesa omulembe khwabanga khutuka nawe nise mulala khuba chairman mu Uganda omuyere nenga mbere khulira mu youth league nenga khulo omulembe kwawo nedembe liwatawo udawo khwebasa otufukirira khwatuka nawe kholera omulimo kuno nende basyange abadeke nende mek nende Busia yosi bandu bangi batwegatireho okutiyambiraho mobilization ndiano nende timu ya UPDF cluster eyukhulibwa nende Brigadier General Moses na abasye Your Excellency ukholere na abandu abo mulimo kwa amani kwakhola nende members badek nende mek abo mu Busia musingireho imuli nenga bino byosi khubikholere asiwa bwemeresi bwawo nende guidance ya secretariat ohire lala omuhaye Honorable Ambassador Nekesaba Burundo etimu yo itukhonyere muno omulimo kwohuberesa obululu kwa first koti Busia hasi ese koti chairman so we are winning as a team of NRM in Busia ndahwebasa omuraga yo kenda naye ingini ya sava kwali naye mu youth ingini ya sava ubere naye yatumubolaizinga muno webale muno oluyali ndahwakamirawo nihwebasa okhwicha ndahwebasa kuka okhutulera nohutulinda NRM oye Kaguta oye Kaguta moto Tadongo juu yambo rembo bihabididi niye birirati asyalire abasami abona bati yambuhe siyana mwebale muno
NRM oye! Whatever you have said, I take it. It's very good. Your Excellency, allow me recognize the presence of Ambassador Dorothy Hua, our ambassador to Australia, and we also have Ambassador Rebecca Otengo, our ambassador for Ethiopia. Shortly, I'll be inviting the regional vice chairman of the party, but before I invite him, to the party members of Busia, we thank you so much for loving His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We have worked with you for the last 40 years. The party has been with you. You have been supporting the party. Our policies has changed lives, and we know the current Kisanja will even be much better. The promises that we have made, the manifestos that we have put before you, the issues we have raised, you have seen how the party has performed. The stability of the country, the peace in your homes, the schools your children go to, the hospitals that you go to, the roads that you travel on, are ideas that the NRM would like to improve. So we thank you so much, and we love you for always listening to the President and for his messages. Allow me invite our regional vice chairman, Honorable Calvin Echodo, to come and make his remarks, and he will be inviting our President to speak to us. May I request those in front, please don't push others. We have enough space. Don't over-squeeze yourselves. We have enough space. Adjust a little. Thank you. Honorable Calvin Echodo, you are next.
Busia oye, Bukedi oye, Uganda oye, East Africa oye, NRM oye, Museveni oye. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda and the Chairman of the National Resistance Party. The Honorable Ministers, Members of Parliament, religious leaders, and all the dignitaries here, welcome to Busia. Your Excellency, we want to congratulate you on the successful campaign in Bukedi district. This being your last rally in Bukedi is a testament of the support and appreciation people of Busia and Bukedi have of your leadership and direction that you have given to this country. It is a big number of people who have come to listen to the manifesto and to listen to your message. We appreciate the successful message and the campaign you have had in Bukedi. Allow me to thank all the leaders of Bukedi, political, religious, and cultural, who have given support to NRM and the President during his campaign rallies in Bukedi. I also want especially to thank the NRM structures and the chairman of the districts for the great work you have done mobilizing for the campaign. Thank you very much. Special thanks to Honorable Ambassador Barbara Nekesa for the job well done. Yeah, good cadre. Thanks also to Honorable Muliba John for the work done in this place. Thank you. And to all the people of Busia, thank you very much. I want to recognize Dr. Lumumba is also here mobilizing for the president. Thank you. Finally, I just want to say the people of Busia, there are people who are passers-by. I think they have just passed in Busia. But I want to encourage you to support and vote NRM and President Museveni. All the people of Bukedi support and vote President Yoweri Museveni. The NRM and President Museveni has been with us and is continuing to provide guidance and stability to this country. And we should not listen to passers-by. With that, Your Excellency, allow me to invite you to speak to your people. Thank you.
abantu muhubire muzeini yeja okwande hulomalo mali muli ubiflaga kulu makofira kulu kwekese muzei wefe sangalo jaja wefe sabalwanyi usangalire muno
abasomya n'abagwe muri umuti muri Bulayi were abakumire Bulayi wera simibwe the Vice Chairman of the NRM Eastern Region,
Chairman wa Eastern Region,
the NRM Secretary General,
Aira Emirimo Keskanda Sefesa NRM,
all the other leaders. I am here with other leaders from Kampala to present to you the manifesto of the NRM for 2026-2031.
Yechere okutuletera ebisuubizo bi NRM birucho tuholera okutulo mwaka kwa 2016 paka 31.
The manifesto it has got 7 points.
Ebisuubizo ebyo birine endemidwa masaba.
And it's not just bisuubizo, it is also what we have already done.